There are rules, unwritten ones, and when you break them, not once but sufficiently often, and there is no need for us to enumerate here, people do it, stop seeing that way only. They cease to see you as reliable, even desirable. You're dismissed before you even open your mouth. Your opinions carry less weight. Your presence becomes forgettable. Machiavelli knew something that most of us never learn. Public perception isn't just theater, it's war. And in public, you're always either making ground or losing it. Now, I want to share with you the 9 things that you should never do in public. These aren't just etiquette tips. These are the behaviors that silently give away your power to others, the actions that cause people to perceive you as weak, needy, or easily manipulated. Before we dive in, if you're into dark psychology, human behavior, or just trying to understand people, yourself, a little better, you're in the right place. Go ahead and like, share, and subscribe to the channel. I drop videos like this all the time to help you spot the patterns, protect your peace, and see through the noise. All right, let's get into it. Most individuals engage in these activities on a daily basis without being aware of how they are harming their reputation. But once you know these rules, silence is your strength. Your restraint becomes your weapon. You shouldn't have to fight for respect. You simply have to stop giving it away. Never complain. Of course, the first thing you should never do in public is complain. Machiavelli put it proverbially, the louder your agony, the feebler you are. This is what happens when you whinge in public. You signal helplessness. You're teaching people to think of you in terms of problems, not solutions. Think about it this way. When someone enters a room and right away complains about the traffic, boss, weather, or problems, etc., uproar is your first reaction. You begin to view them as someone who can't manage simple challenges. A person who cracks under the stress of regular life experiences. Let me provide you a concrete example. Let's say there are 2 co-workers in a room. Person A, this project is impossible. We haven't got enough resource, and how can they expect us to do it in such a short time frame? Respondent B, I mean, there's some difficulty here. Let me ponder a bit on how to handle this. Whom would you prefer to work for? Who feels like the one better equipped to deal with pressure? The complainer teaches all around that he crumbles under pressure. The calm person implies they can handle life difficulties. Machiavelli would have explained, never show your weakness. When you complain, it's like throwing a billboard that says, can't handle this, over your head. This isn't to say that you should never address problems. It means you should show problems as well as solutions. Rather than, this is the worst, it's, here's what I'm facing and here are some ways of thinking about it. The difference is enormous. Never over-explain. The second rule is never over-explain. Machiavelli understood this perfectly. For therapy, clarity, for power, mystery. Over-explaining signals insecurity. It seeds the narrative to other people. If you find yourself needing to explain every decision or defend every action, all you're doing is asking permission for your right to exist. Here's what over-explaining looks like in action. You're asked why you decided to eat at a certain restaurant. Well, I read the reviews online and they seemed good, plus it's not too expensive but not too cheap either. And my friend tried to get me go last month, so it gave me an idea about what might be on their menu. I thought you'd like it, the powerful person responds. See the difference? One seems to speak under the threat of defending himself in court. The other person does not doubt their assessment. Over-explaining also provides folks with ammunition to argue back at you. The more reasons you offer, the greater an opportunity for someone to find fault with your reasoning. When you state your position nakedly, with minimal argumentative clothes on, there's nothing for the other side to attack. Powerful people leave room for interpretation. They let others wonder about their reasoning. This creates a sense of depth and mystery that makes people more interested in understanding you. Think about the most influential people you know. They don't explain themselves constantly, they make statements and let them stand. Never apologize excessively. The third rule is about apologies. Never apologize excessively. Machiavelli would say a man who begs for forgiveness loses authority before he's even judged. Apologies should be rare, intentional, and surgical. Here's the problem with over-apologizing. When you say sorry for everything, sorry loses its meaning. You apologize for being 2 minutes late. For asking a question, having an opinion that differs from someone else's, or you apologize for taking up space. Each unnecessary apology chips away at your authority. It signals that you believe you're doing something wrong just by existing. Let me show you what this looks like. You walk into a meeting that's already started. The over-apologizer says, "Sorry I'm late, sorry to interrupt, sorry, excuse me, sorry." The person with presence says, "Good morning," and takes their seat. Both people arrived at the same time, but one person framed their entrance as a disruption. The other person framed it as an arrival. Same action, completely different perception. Here's when you should apologize. When you've actually done something wrong. When your actions have negatively impacted someone else, or a sincere apology can repair damage you've caused. But don't apologize for existing. Don't apologize for having needs or for taking up space in the world. When you do need to apologize, make it count. Be specific about what you did wrong. Take responsibility without making excuses. Then move forward. Don't keep apologizing for the same thing over and over. Never brag. The fourth rule is never brag. True power is assumed, not announced. The second you try to impress people, you've already failed. Bragging has the opposite effect of what you want. Instead of making people think you're successful, it makes them think you're insecure about your success. Here's why bragging backfires. When someone constantly talks about their achievements, their money, their connections, or their accomplishments, they sound like they're trying to convince themselves as much as everyone else. Confident people don't need to list their credentials. Their value is felt, not explained. Think about the difference between these two approaches. The bragger says, "I just closed a huge deal. It was the biggest sale in company history. Everyone was so impressed. My boss said it was incredible." The person with quiet confidence might simply say, "Had a good week at work," when asked. The first person sounds desperate for validation. The second person sounds like good weeks are normal for them. Here's what you should do instead of bragging. Let your results speak for themselves. When people ask about your work, give humble but confident responses. Focus on the impact rather than the glory. If someone compliments you, simply say "thank you" instead of launching into all the details of how amazing you are. The most powerful people I know rarely talk about their accomplishments unless directly asked. And when they do talk about them, they focus on the work itself, not on how impressive it makes them look. Machiavelli understood that the more you reveal, the less they respect. Keep some mystery about your successes. Let people discover your capabilities over time, rather than announcing them up front. Never interrupt to prove a point. The fifth rule is about interrupting. Never interrupt someone just to prove a point. Machiavelli would say, "He who speaks first may win the noise, but lose the frame." Interrupting looks desperate. It signals that you're so worried about being heard that you can't wait for an appropriate moment to speak. Powerful people let others talk. Then they dominate the silence that follows. Here's what interrupting actually communicates. It says you think your point is more important than understanding theirs. It suggests you're not really listening, just waiting for your turn to talk. It makes you look impatient and impulsive. Most importantly, it often makes people defensive, which means they stop listening to you even when you do make your point. Let me give you a better approach. When someone is speaking and you disagree or have something to add, wait for them to finish. Let there be a moment of silence. Then respond thoughtfully. This approach has several advantages. You demonstrate respect for the other person. You show that you actually listened to their complete thought. You appear more thoughtful and controlled. Your response carries more weight because it comes from a place of consideration, not reaction. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is let someone finish speaking and then simply nod or say, "I see it differently." You don't always need to explain why. You don't always need to prove they're wrong. Sometimes your quiet disagreement is more impactful than a detailed argument. The person who waits to speak often controls the tone of the entire conversation. Never react emotionally. The sixth rule is about emotional control. Never react emotionally in public. Machiavelli understood that he who flinches bleeds. Losing emotional control gives other people leverage over you. When you get angry, defensive, or anxious in public, you look impulsive. You look weak. You look easier to manipulate. Here's what emotional reactions tell people about you. They learn exactly which buttons to push to get a response. They see that you can be thrown off balance. They understand that your emotions are stronger than your self-control. All of this information can be used against you later. Let me show you what this looks like in practice. Someone makes a comment that bothers you. The emotional reactor gets visibly upset, raises their voice, starts defending themselves immediately. The person with emotional control might pause, take a breath, and respond calmly or not at all. Same trigger, completely different outcomes. The emotional reactor has given the other person proof that they can be controlled. The controlled person has maintained their power and composure. This doesn't mean you should never feel emotions. It means you should choose when and how to express them. Feel whatever you feel internally. But externally, stay unreadable. Make people guess what you're really thinking. This creates a sense of mystery and unpredictability that actually makes you more interesting and harder to manipulate. When you do choose to show emotion, it carries much more weight because it's rare and intentional. Never overshare personal problems. The 7th rule is about privacy. Never overshare your personal problems in public. Machiavelli believed that power is built on asymmetry. They should know less about you than you know about them. Oversharing feels honest, but it kills your mystique. When you constantly talk about your relationship issues, family drama, financial stress, or personal struggles, you're giving people a roadmap to your vulnerabilities. Here's what happens when you overshare. People start to see you as someone who can't handle their private life. They begin to associate you with chaos and problems. They lose respect for your judgment. Most importantly, they stop seeing you as someone who might be able to help them with their problems. Think about it this way. Would you ask for advice from someone who constantly talks about how messed up their own life is? Would you want to do business with someone who can't seem to manage their personal affairs? Would you see someone as a leader if they're always falling apart? The answer is probably no. This doesn't mean you should pretend to be perfect. It means you should be selective about what you share and with whom. Save the deep personal conversations for close friends and family. In professional or casual social settings, keep things lighter. When people ask how you're doing, you don't need to give them a detailed update on every challenge in your life. A simple, "doing well, thanks," is often more powerful than a long explanation of your current struggles. Let people wonder about your private life. Let them work to understand you. The mystery makes you more interesting. The boundaries make you more respectable. Never show public desperation for approval. The 8th rule is about validation. Never show public desperation for approval. Neediness poisons influence. When you're constantly seeking validation, asking for opinions, or trying to get people to like you, you signal that you're beneath them. Here's the psychology behind this. When people sense that you need their attention, they stop giving it freely. When they see that you're desperate for their approval, they start to question whether you're worth approving of. Desperation repels the very thing you're seeking. Let me give you some examples of what desperation for approval looks like. Constantly asking, "What do you think?" about decisions you should make yourself. Changing your opinions based on who you're talking to. Overposting on social media and then checking obsessively for likes and comments. Agreeing with everything someone says because you want them to like you. Fishing for compliments by putting yourself down. All of these behaviors communicate insecurity. They suggest that you don't trust your own judgment. They make you appear needy and dependent on others for your sense of self-worth. Here's what you should do instead. Make decisions based on your own judgment. Have opinions and stick to them. Be comfortable with silence instead of filling every gap in conversation. Show genuine interest in others without needing them to reciprocate immediately. The paradox is that when you stop desperately seeking approval, you often start getting it naturally. People are drawn to those who seem complete and confident on their own. Detachment creates desire. Independence makes you more attractive, not less. Never try to win every argument. The 9th and final rule is about arguments. Never try to win every argument. Sometimes silence is the sharpest sword. Trying to win every public debate makes you look insecure, not intelligent. Here's what happens when you always need to have the last word. People start to see you as argumentative and difficult. You waste energy on battles that don't matter. You miss opportunities to learn from others. Most importantly, you often end up looking petty, even when you're technically right. Machiavelli understood that sometimes the most powerful move is to let others expose themselves while you remain still. When someone is being unreasonable or making poor arguments, your silence can be more devastating than any clever comeback. Let me paint you a picture. Someone makes a statement you disagree with. The person who needs to win starts arguing immediately, bringing up facts, getting emotional, trying to prove their point. The person with real power might simply raise an eyebrow, smile slightly, or say nothing at all. Which response makes the original person question themselves more? Which response makes observers think more highly of the responder? Usually, it's the restrained response. Here's when you should engage in arguments. When the stakes actually matter. When you have something meaningful to contribute. When you can change the outcome in a significant way. But for most daily disagreements, your energy is better spent elsewhere. Learn to let people be wrong sometimes. Let them have opinions you disagree with. Let them think they've won arguments that don't actually matter. Your silence, your indifference, or even a subtle smile can be more powerful than the most brilliant counterargument. People remember how you made them feel, not necessarily what you said. If you make them feel small by always proving them wrong, they'll resent you even when you're right. If you give them space to have their opinions, they'll often respect you more and be more open to your input when it really counts. Outro. Here's what I want you to understand. You're being watched more than you think. Not by enemies, but by everyone. Your coworkers are forming opinions about your competence. Your friends are deciding how much they respect you. Strangers are making snap judgments about your character. Every interaction is an opportunity to gain ground or lose it. The good news is that you have more control over this than you realize. Most people are constantly giving their power away through these 9 behaviors. They complain and look helpless. They over-explain and appear insecure. They apologize for existing. They brag and seem desperate. They interrupt and look impatient. They react emotionally and become predictable. They overshare and lose mystery. They seek approval and repel respect. They argue about everything and appear petty. But now you know better. When you avoid these behaviors, something interesting happens. Your silence becomes strength. Your restraint becomes confidence. Your mystery becomes magnetism. You don't need to fight for power. You just need to stop giving it away. People will start treating you differently. They'll listen more carefully when you speak. They'll respect your opinions more. They'll see you as someone who has their life together. These aren't just social tricks. These are principles that can change how you move through the world. In your career, in your relationships, in every interaction you have. The person who masters these rules doesn't need to demand respect. They command it naturally. So here's my challenge for you. Pick one of these 9 rules and focus on it this week. Maybe you'll stop complaining and start solving. Maybe you'll stop over-explaining and start trusting your judgment. Maybe you'll stop apologizing for taking up space in the world. Whatever you choose, commit to it. Notice how people respond to you differently. Pay attention to how you feel about yourself when you stop giving your power away. If this video changed how you think about public behavior, hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. And let me know in the comments which of these 9 rules resonated most with you.